off, I do. Toronto every year, no problem. San Francisco, no problem. Victoria, I wear underwear in Victoria, right? And I wore my underwear in 2010, 2011 here, but 2012, I got permission from the Pride director, or at least he said it would be okay. You can go for it, but he said, yeah, we don't have a problem, it's okay. It's only this year they changed their terms and conditions, so now they specifically prohibit you. That wasn't the case last year. Tell people the truth, that the foreskin is a wonderful body part, that every man deserves to enjoy for himself. Less than 1% of men who grow up with a foreskin choose to be circumcised as adults. Why? Because foreskin feels really good. That's the reason why it gets cut off in the first place. It's fear of sexual pleasure. The foreskin is the most sensitive part of the penis. We need to protect the foreskin. We need to respect the foreskin. That's why we're here. We want the City Hall to know, the Vancouver Pride Society, and we want the community to know too, that the Vancouver Pride Society is discriminating against queer activists in this community. They want a nice, family-friendly, clean, corporate-friendly event, and they want to get rid of controversial messages such as ours. And I think that's really disappointing, and we're here to hold Pride to account for its bullshit, pardon my French, and get us reinstated to the parade. We've got 6 days to do that. Here we go.
35 years.
That guy in the video is a clown called Glenn Callender. He is the epitome of the failed intactivist who is off-putting to normal people. He just comes across as a narcissistic, self-absorbed weirdo in love of his own penis. Now I will show him in a TV interview and show how he gets owned and dismissed by a right-wing low-life interviewer. I who show how a foreskin positivity stance is a losing position to hold.
I know Germany rather well, and that country has done all it possibly can, and my golly, it had to, of course, after the Second World War, to try and expunge that memory of filth and to work with the international Jewish community, opened its doors to Russian Jews, rebuilt synagogues. And it's very surprising that Germany is the country where a rabbi is facing charges now for performing a circumcision. They've passed laws in that country that say circumcision. Which really here we're talking about the circumcision of generally a Jewish boy when he's a few days old. This is very problematic and very troubling. I mean, I don't think it's a major issue, people losing their jobs, people losing their lives.
The right-wing nut job is minimizing the seriousness of baby dick cutting. You would think this right-winger would be easy to destroy in the debate. Well, let me assure you that the person he is going to interview is going to fail, and fail hard.
However, it's an issue of freedom of speech, and of course it involves Islam as well. Not always after 8 days, but circumcision is also required within Islam. In Vancouver is Glenn Callender of the Canadian Foreskin Awareness something or other, and he's wearing a T-shirt telling us that. Glenn, why this penile obsession?
I wouldn't say it's a penile obsession.
The right-winger can dismiss Glenn Callender as a weirdo obsessed with penis, because he is wearing a stupid T-shirt. Also, it is bloody strange to frame a brutal human rights violation around hedonism and the greatness of foreskin. Do you think activists campaigning against female genital mutilation would spend their time talking about how great pussy is? No, they focus on how serious of an issue it is and how young girls are harmed. Why do men have a hard time focusing on their issues in a serious manner?
I think that we have, in Canada, protected females from any kind of genital mutilation up until the age of 18. It is completely fair and reasonable to suggest that all children, not just girls, have a right to keep all of their sex organs and decide for themselves if they want anything cut off.
Yeah, foreskin is on a sex organ there. I mean, if you've seen female, and it is genital mutilation, if you've seen it when it occurs in Africa and the Middle East, it's the ripping away of a fundamental, profound aspect of a little girl's anatomy, often in agony without anesthetic, sometimes with a broken bottle. It affects them forever. Circumcision.
Male circumcision does too. Absolutely.
Oh, come on! Don't be so neurotic. Of course it does. And there's a few people going around saying, "Oh, I'm in pain." It's a
Circumcision is done without anesthetic. Why has Glenn failed to point this out? Not a good job so far. Failure to hold his frame of reference. Also, the right-winger is a massive white knight, downplays the harm baby dick cutting does, while talking about how glass bottles are used to mutilate female genitals. Downplaying the suffering of boys and fixating on the plight of girls is not just a left-wing thing. Right-wingers do it all the time as well.
Non-issue for the hundreds of millions of people who have had it. You are not seriously comparing female to male circumcision, are you?
I absolutely am. Male circumcision removes more than half of the nerves of the penis. It removes the most sensitive parts of the penis. And when you say there's no comparison, it just shows that you don't have any understanding of the history of male circumcision. There is a 2,000-year history of Jewish writing, and it's...
Why do intactivists fail to point out how many deaths circumcision causes? The conversation always seems to focus around how many nerves the penis has, and reduced sexual pleasure. While that is a good thing to point out, the main focus of the conversation is the harm circumcision causes. Death is the most harm that can be caused to someone. Also, the person interviewed has to counter the interviewer and ask loaded questions. Why do you support the death and mutilation of helpless baby boys?
200-year history of medical writing that openly acknowledges that the primary intent of circumcision is to diminish and control male sexuality, to permanently damage the penis so that boy and the man he becomes will never be allowed to fully enjoy sex.
Quote me a 2,000-year-old Jewish writer who said this.
Philo, the Greek Jew of the 1st century, I believe, he specifically wrote that the function of circumcision is to quiet the organ, so it will be in as quiet a state as possible.
I want you to send me that. No, hold on. I want you to send me that because I know.
The right-wing slime tries to catch Glenn Callender out by asking him a difficult question to answer for someone who is not an expert on Judaism. When Glenn Callender answers that obscure question, the right-winger then dismisses it. We all know the host would be all over him if Glenn failed to answer the question. The thing is, what some Jew said 2,000 years ago is not relevant anyway.
No Philo's work and not seen it. Now, the role of circumcision, I'm a Catholic. I actually find that circumcision is strange and that there are Jewish people
who should know that, of course, the Catholic Church opposes circumcision of boys.
Oh, stop interrupting me, sir, please. I mean, let's not make this a complete cock and ball story. The Catholic Church doesn't oppose circumcision.
He might as well interrupt him. Glenn is too submissive and meek and is getting walked all over.
The early church in the 1st century debated Peter and Paul and decided that the Mosaic laws were not obligatory to Christians. However, I do think it's a bit odd somehow that some Jewish people who don't believe in God do, if you like, concentrate or obsess about circumcision. But it's a minor issue. It's a covenant between the Jewish people and the people of Abraham. Let me ask you this.
I can tell you as a man with a foreskin that it is not a minor issue.
Why is this such a big thing in the gay community? I've noticed that you appear and perform at gay pride parades.
Right-wingers will dismiss LGBT-obsessed activists in this manner. The thing is, circumcision is nothing to do with LGBT issues, as the LGBT movement is a feminist front, so there is no benefit linking circumcision to the LGBT movement. Turning up at gay pride sticking to a safe niche like that is not going to change people's minds. It is a complete waste of energy and time. It is like the Intactivist movement considers befriending the gays as a priority before anything else.
And it seems to be mainly within the gay community that... Why is that?
Well, queer people are very conscious of the fact that the same God in the Old Testament that calls for the destruction of queer people also calls for the destruction of foreskin.
Glenn is being stupid here. What is the point making this a homosexuals versus religion issue? The focus should be on helpless baby boys, and only baby boys. This is getting derailed into liberals versus Fox News neoconservatives.
The God of the Old Testament has a lot of very, very negative views of many areas of human sexuality. And I would say queer men are ahead of the heterosexual population in understanding that circumcision is harmful to men, because queer men interact with other penises than their own and very quickly come to the conclusion that men with foreskin have more fun.
This is not about how much fun men can have. This is about baby boys being maimed and injured, and even killed. Look, society doesn't give a rat's ass about the well-being of men and boys. Do you think they are going to be concerned about the reduced sexual pleasure of men?
The foreskin is a very enjoyable body part.
I'm glad you're ahead of it rather than behind, because that would sort of rather disturb me. I don't have the time to get into theological debate, but it's a deeply, with all due respect, disingenuous and suburban and rather childish argument.
Glenn should interrupt and go. How dare you call concern over the well-being of helpless babies a childish thing? How dare you accuse me of being disingenuous? Are you calling me a liar? I challenge you to call me that to my face in real life.
Well, hey, all I can tell you is this.
You've got to let me respond, sir. You can't just talk over me just because you're gay and...
Glenn submitted there. He should have tried to shout over this right-wing idiot. Glenn has lost the debate completely. He allowed himself to get pushed around and made to look meek.
Obsessed with penises, you have to
bisexual,
let me
actually.
respond. If you
Okay.
understand theology, you will know there are certain laws of custom that go back 3,000 years in Leviticus and Deuteronomy that are no longer observed. Jewish people don't observe them. They decide which ones
Absolutely.
are significant and other ones are not. But what this comes down to, at, if you like, the sharp end, is that you're going to tell all sorts of Jewish people that something which is fundamental to their faith cannot be observed anymore. Are you prepared to do that?
Absolutely, because I know many Jewish men who are lividly angry about their circumcisions.
Yeah, there's
they grew
millions
up
of
to be secular Jews. No, this is a serious issue, and if
It's
you want
not.
to be fair in your portrayal of this issue, you must acknowledge that there is a debate within the Jewish community about circumcision. There is a reform movement within Judaism that seeks to replace the cutting of the penis with an alternate ceremony that does not involve wounding the penis.
Yeah, it's about a dozen
I know
of them.
Jewish men that are very angry that their foreskins are gone,
gone through our
and it's
fi-
not
we've gone
because
through
of
our
their
five-
religion.
At the very least, Glenn can shout back and tell this right-wing idiot not to interrupt him.
Minutes. I didn't even get to mention the fact that it's such a safer way to live your life. Look at Uganda and so on. However, it's great fun. Enjoy your T-shirt and anything else you might get up to tonight. Thank you so very much.
You're very welcome, Michael. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Fixating on gay rights, gay sexual pleasure, on how great the penis is a complete and utter dead end. Also, if an Intactivist is appearing on a right-wing channel, he must realize his LGBT agenda is not going to go down well. This was a terrible interview that made Intactivists look bad, so I have to say the Intactivist side lost, and lost badly. The focus should have been on the victimization of helpless baby boys, and only the victimization of baby boys. Glenn should have emphasized that he is an Intactivist to save babies from harm. His message is confused, and comes across as narcissistic and self-indulgent. Intactivists have to stop acting like clowns, and try to be more serious. This is a serious issue after all. Say what you will about the man-hating feminist movement, at least they know how to debate better. They would not let themselves get pushed around like Glenn did, and would shout over the right-wing interviewer. Anyway, I am going to link to a video by my hero Malsentient Void. He uploaded it recently and he talks more about the failures of Intactivism. Please give the video a watch. It is a very good one. I know this because I wrote about 50% of it myself.